The warning alarms screamed across the bridge of the EDF Valiant. Admiral Jack Morrison stared at the display screens, trying to understand what he was seeing. Ships were appearing in orbit around New Haven. Big ships. Ships that didn't belong to humanity. "Get me a count," Jack said to his sensor officer. 50 contacts, sir. No, wait. 70. They're still coming through. Jack had commanded the Colonial Defense Fleet for 8 years. He had trained for pirates, smugglers, and the occasional territorial dispute between colony worlds. He had never trained for this. "Try all communication channels. Ask them to identify themselves." The communication officer worked her console for 30 seconds. Then she looked up, her face pale. "Sir, they're not responding to any hails, but we're picking up a broadcast. It's in English." "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge. It sounded wrong, like a human voice passed through a broken machine. "Inferior species detected. Elimination protocols engaged." Jack's stomach dropped. Around New Haven, the unknown ships began to glow. Bright points of light formed along their hulls. "All ships, evasive action!" Jack shouted. "Get the civilians to the shelters! Launch all fighters!" The alien ships fired. Beams of superheated plasma tore through the atmosphere of New Haven. Jack watched on the monitors as entire cities vanished in flashes of white light. The defense stations orbiting the planet lasted 3 seconds before they were cut apart. "Return fire!" Jack ordered. The human ships launched their missiles. Nuclear-tipped warheads streaked toward the enemy fleet. Jack held his breath, hoping for even one hit. The missiles exploded against invisible barriers surrounding the alien ships. Not one warhead got through. "Their shields are blocking everything," the weapons officer reported. His voice shook. Jack looked at the displays. New Haven was dying. 3 billion people lived on that world. Lived. Past tense now. "All ships, fall back to Terra Nova. Maybe we can warn them." But Terra Nova was already under attack. So was Genesis Prime. The alien fleet had struck all 3 major colony worlds at the same time. The human ships jumped through space to Terra Nova. Jack hoped they could at least evacuate some people. When they arrived, the planet was already burning. Commander Ben Carter was in an escape pod, watching his ship die. The EDF Guardian had taken a direct hit. Ben was the only survivor from a crew of 300. He had been in the cargo bay when the plasma beam cut the ship in half. Now he floated in space, watching Terra Nova burn below him. His wife was down there, his 2 children. They lived in the coastal city of New Harbor. That city was now a crater filled with molten glass. Ben's radio picked up scattered transmissions from other survivors. Most were just screaming. Some were trying to coordinate a defense. It was pointless. The alien ships cut through humanity's forces like they were made of paper. A rescue ship found Ben 4 hours later. By then, all 3 colony worlds were dead. 7 billion people gone. The surviving human ships ran. They jumped through space toward Earth, carrying the worst news in human history. Behind them, the alien fleet remained in orbit around the dead worlds, as if making sure nothing lived. General Kate Sullivan received the first reports in Earth Defense Command. She had been a soldier for 30 years. She had seen combat. She had lost friends. But nothing prepared her for this. "Confirmed casualties?" she asked. "All 3 colony worlds are gone, ma'am. We estimate 7 billion dead. Only 40% of the defense fleet made it back." Kate looked at the star map. 17 human colonies spread across 6 star systems. Now 3 of those colonies were ash, and Earth had no idea who had attacked them or why. The survivors arrived at Earth over the next 2 days. Kate interviewed each captain personally. They all told the same story. Unknown ships, overwhelming firepower. No communication except that one message about elimination protocols. Ben Carter was brought to her office on the 3rd day. He was a wreck. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. He just sat in the chair and stared at the wall. "Commander Carter, I need you to tell me everything you saw." Ben's voice was flat. They didn't care. They didn't try to take prisoners. Didn't demand surrender. They just killed everyone. My sensors showed buildings full of people, and then those buildings were just gone. The planet's surface temperature rose by 50 degrees in 2 hours from all the bombardment. Did you see any weakness in their ships? No. Our weapons did nothing. Their shields stopped everything. And their ships moved faster than anything we have. We couldn't run and we couldn't fight. Kate dismissed Ben and called her senior staff. They worked through the night, analyzing every bit of data from the attack. The results were clear. Humanity faced an enemy with technology centuries ahead of their own. President Lisa Monroe called an emergency meeting of Earth's government. Kate presented her findings to the room full of frightened politicians. We're calling them the Valorians, based on energy signatures in their transmissions. Best estimate is they control thousands of star systems. They have faster ships, better weapons, and shields we can't penetrate. How long until they reach Earth? The president asked. 6 months, maybe less if they decide to move faster. The room erupted in panic. Voices shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight. Kate waited for them to quiet down. Surrender won't work, she said. They didn't offer terms. They didn't ask for anything. They just killed everyone. If we try to surrender, they'll kill us anyway. Then what do we do? President Monroe asked. Kate looked at the faces around the table. These were good people, ethical people. They believed in laws and treaties and human rights. But good people don't survive when the enemy wants genocide. We do whatever it takes, Kate said. We use every weapon we have and every weapon we can build. And we stop thinking like civilized people. Because the Valorians just taught us that civilization is a luxury we can't afford anymore. The president's face was grim. Explain. We have weapons research that was banned after the resource wars. Pro-President Lisa Monroe walked through the underground tunnel that connected the government building to the secure bunker system beneath Colorado. The tunnel had been built a century ago during the resource wars. Back then, humanity had been afraid of itself. Now they faced something much worse. The conference room was deep underground, surrounded by meters of reinforced concrete and steel. Around the table sat the people who would decide humanity's future: General Kate Sullivan, Admiral Jack Morrison, and Dr. Daniel Hayes, a man most people had never heard of. Daniel ran the Advanced Weapons Research Division. It was a small department, tucked away in a classified facility in Nevada. His job was to study the weapons humanity had promised never to build again. "Thank you for coming," Lisa said. "Dr. Hayes, please present your findings." Daniel opened a folder. Inside were papers that could change everything. "We have 3 projects that were terminated under the Human Ethics Accord of 2134. We stopped them because they were considered too dangerous. Project Chimera was weaponized nanotechnology, microscopic machines that could consume any matter and replicate themselves. Project Hellfire was antimatter compression, a bomb that could destroy a star. Project Nightfall was artificial intelligence designed for warfare, with no ethical programming to limit its actions." Senator Paul Grant stood up. He was an old man, known for his moral stance on everything. "These projects were banned for good reason. Chimera could consume an entire planet. Hellfire could murder billions. Nightfall could turn on us." "We can't use these weapons." Kate's voice was cold. 7 billion people are dead. The Valorians killed them without warning, without mercy. If we don't use everything we have, the remaining 12 billion on Earth will die too. "Then we become monsters," Paul said. "We become survivors," Kate replied. The argument went on for an hour. Paul insisted that using banned weapons made humanity no better than the Valorians. Kate countered with simple math. Every ethical choice humanity made had to be weighed against extinction. Lisa listened to both sides. She had barely slept in 3 days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the reports from the colonies. Cities full of children, vaporized in seconds. Families that never had a chance to run. "Dr. Hayes," Lisa said, "if we greenlight these projects, can they stop the Valorians?" Daniel chose his words carefully. "Chimera can destroy their ships. We've analyzed wreckage from the colony battles. Valorian hulls use specific alloys. We can program nanomachines to target those materials. Once the machines get on a ship, that ship is dead." "And hellfire?" "Antimatter compression creates an explosion that ignores shields. If we can deliver the payload, we can destroy anything, including their home system's star." The room went silent. Lisa looked around the table. "You're talking about genocide." "They started it," Kate said quietly. "They came to our worlds and killed everyone. We didn't ask for this war, but now that we're in it, we have to win." Paul shook his head. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Jack said. The Admiral had been quiet until now. "I was there. I watched New Haven die. I gave every order I could think of. Nothing worked. Their technology is too advanced. We can't beat them with conventional warfare." Lisa made her decision. It wasn't easy. It wasn't even right. But it was necessary. "All 3 projects are approved. We're calling it Operation Final Dawn. Dr. Hayes, you have 4 months. Make these weapons work." Paul walked out. He couldn't be part of this. Lisa didn't blame him. She wasn't sure she could live with herself either. The next day, Kate brought Ben Carter to her office. The commander looked terrible. He had barely held himself together during the debriefing sessions. "Commander, I have an assignment for you." Ben looked up. His eyes were hollow. "I'm not fit for duty, ma'am." "I know. Your psychological evaluation shows severe trauma. You're grieving. You're angry. You're unstable. Then why are you here?" "Because I need someone who hates the Valorians enough to do what needs to be done. I need someone who won't hesitate when the moment comes." Kate explained Operation Final Dawn. She told Ben about the weapons they were building, the nanomachines, the Starkiller bomb, the AI that would have no mercy. "You want me to lead the strike team?" Ben said. "Yes. I'll do it." Kate had expected more questions, but Ben didn't care about details. He just wanted the Valorians to hurt the way he was hurting. Earth transformed over the next 4 months. Every factory was retooled for war production. Every scientist worked on Final Dawn. The civilian population was told they were building defensive systems. Nobody mentioned that the real plan was revenge. Daniel worked 20 hours a day in his lab. His team included some of the brightest minds humanity had. Amy Chen was an engineer who specialized in quantum mechanics. Greg Patterson designed the delivery systems for the weapons. Together they solved problems that should have taken years. The key breakthrough came from studying Valorian wreckage. The shield technology was sophisticated, but it had limits. The shields were designed to stop conventional weapons, missiles, lasers, kinetic projectiles. But the Valorians had never encountered antimatter weapons because no species in the galaxy used them. Antimatter was too unstable, too dangerous. Humanity didn't care about danger anymore. "We can crack their shields," Amy reported. "Antimatter operates at a quantum frequency their shields don't block. If we can get close enough to deploy, we can hurt them." Daniel smiled for the first time in months. "How close?" "Physical contact would be best, but within 100 meters would work." That meant suicide runs. Ships would have to get right next to Valorian vessels before releasing the weapons. Nobody was coming back from those missions. Kate called for volunteers. She expected maybe 100 people to sign up. She got 10,000 in the first day. Every volunteer had lost someone in the colony massacres. Wives, husbands, children, parents, friends. They all wanted the same thing Ben wanted. They wanted the Valorians to pay. Meanwhile, Jack oversaw construction of a new ship. The EDF Retribution was twice the size of any vessel humanity had built before. It carried experimental slipspace drives that could track Valorian ships through their own jump routes. The ship was designed for one purpose: to reach the Valorian home system and deliver hellfire. Jack handpicked the crew himself, 300 people. Every one of them understood this was a one-way mission. They were going to strike at the heart of the enemy, and they probably wouldn't make it home. Lisa spent the 4 months preparing Earth's defenses. The entire population was quietly relocated to underground cities and lunar colonies. The surface was turned into a trap, covered with automated defense platforms and decoys. When the Valorians arrived, they would find what looked like a desperate last stand. By the time they realized it was a trap, it would be too late. 5 months after the colony massacres, Valorian scout ships appeared at the edge of the Swar Prime. Keltharis stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the primitive planet ahead. Earth. The humans called it their homeworld. Soon it would be another dead rock orbiting a yellow star. "Report," Keltharis ordered. 200 ships in formation, War Prime. No resistance detected. The planet's surface shows minimal activity. Keltharis felt disappointed. He had expected the humans to put up a fight. After the colony worlds, he thought they would at least try to defend their home. Instead, Earth looked abandoned. Begin bombardment pattern 7. Destroy all population centers. The Valorian fleet moved into orbit, their weapons charged, preparing to repeat what they had done to New Haven, Terra Nova, and Genesis Prime. Keltharis had done this to 40 species. Humans would be 41. Then his sensor officer spoke up. "War Prime, detecting small craft approaching, 12 vessels, primitive design." Keltharis looked at the display. 12 tiny ships were accelerating toward his fleet. They were slow, outdated, not worth his attention. "Destroy them!" Plasma beams lanced out, but the human ships kept coming. They moved in erratic patterns, dodging and weaving. 3 were destroyed. 9 kept coming. "War Prime, they're on collision courses. Let them come. Our shields will stop them." The first human ship hit a Valorian cruiser at full speed. The impact should have been meaningless. The shields should have vaporized the attacking vessel. Instead, something happened. The human ship exploded, but not with weapons. It released a cloud of something that sensors couldn't identify. "What was that?" Keltharis demanded. Before his crew could answer, the cruiser's hull began to change. The metal plating started to dissolve, breaking apart at a molecular level. Within seconds, entire sections of the ship were gone. The cloud was spreading, consuming the vessel from the outside in. Ben Carter watched from his cockpit as the Valorian cruiser came apart. The nanomachines were working exactly as designed. They ate the Valorian alloy and used it to make more of themselves. Each machine became 2, then 4, then 8, exponential growth. "Strike team, deploy payloads," Ben ordered. The remaining 8 human ships released their clouds. Each cloud contained billions of nanomachines. They spread through the Valorian formation like a plague. Keltharis watched in horror as his fleet began to die. Ships lost hull integrity. Life support systems failed. Escape pods launched automatically, but the nanomachines were on them too. Pods broke apart before they could clear the ships. "Jump to slip space," Keltharis ordered. "All ships emergency retreat." But jumping required functional engines, and the nanomachines had already reached the engine cores on most ships. Vessels tried to jump and exploded instead. Others made it halfway through the jump before their systems failed, leaving them trapped between dimensions. Of 200 ships, only 40 made the jump successfully. The rest dissolved into clouds of metallic dust that would drift in Earth's orbit for centuries. Kate watched from the command center as the Valorian fleet fell apart. Cheers erupted around her. 4 months of work had just destroyed 80% of an enemy fleet in 15 minutes. But Kate didn't cheer, because she knew what those nanomachines had done. They hadn't just destroyed ships. They had killed everyone on board. Thousands of Valorians had suffocated or been exposed to vacuum as their ships dissolved around them. "Track the survivors," Kate ordered. "Launch the Retribution." Jack Morrison had been waiting behind Jupiter for this moment. The Retribution's engines came online. Powered by technology, humanity had reverse-engineered from captured Valorian systems. The ship was crude compared to real Valorian vessels, but it was fast enough. "Helm, follow those ships. Stay close enough to track them through slip space." "Aye, sir." The Retribution jumped. The sensation was different from normal human jump drives. Slip space was a dimension between dimensions. Ships could travel faster here, but it required precise calculations. One mistake, and a ship could be lost forever. The Valorian survivors were running blind. They jumped without proper coordination, just trying to escape the nano-machine clouds. Jack's navigation officer tracked their energy signatures. "Got them, sir. They're heading toward the Kelthera system. Estimate 3 weeks travel time. Stay on them. Don't let them know we're here." In the command center on Earth, Kate broadcast a message. It was sent on all frequencies, designed to reach the fleeing Valorian ships. "This is General Kate Sullivan of Earth Defense Forces. You killed 7 billion of us. You wanted war. You have it now. But this is humanity's war. We don't fight by your rules. We don't show mercy to those who showed us none. Run back to your home. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that humans are coming." The message was propaganda. Kate knew it. But it served a purpose. The Valorians needed to be afraid. Fear would make them sloppy. On the Retribution, Daniel worked with his team to prepare the Hellfire device. The antimatter had to be kept in a perfect quantum containment field. One mistake, and the entire ship would vaporize. Amy checked the field generators every hour. "We're stable so far, but we've never maintained containment this long before. After 2 weeks, the field starts to degrade." "We have 3 weeks of travel," Daniel said. "Can we make it?" "Maybe, if nothing goes wrong." Greg worked on the deployment system. The Hellfire device had to be placed precisely near a star. Too close, and it would be destroyed by heat before detonation. Too far, and the cascade reaction wouldn't trigger. "We get one shot at this," Greg said. "Once we deploy, we have 30 minutes to get clear. After that, the star goes supernova." Jack listened to their reports. His crew was good. They had trained hard. But this mission was beyond anything humanity had attempted. They were going to attack the capital system of an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. Ben Carter was also on the Retribution. After the Earth battle, Kate had transferred him to Jack's command. Ben served as military liaison, coordinating between the scientists and the crew. Ben spent most of his time in the observation deck, staring out at slip space. It looked like nothing and everything at once, colors that didn't exist in normal space. Shapes that hurt to look at. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez found Ben there one night. Sam was the Retribution's tactical officer. He was also one of the few people who questioned the mission. "Commander, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Ben turned to look at Sam. The lieutenant was young, maybe 25. He had lost his parents in the Genesis Prime massacre. "The Valorians killed your parents," Ben said. "Don't you want revenge?" "I want justice. I'm not sure that's the same thing. Justice is a luxury. We're in survival mode now." Sam shook his head. "If we kill billions of Valorians, how are we different from them?" "We're different because they started it. We're finishing it." But even as Ben said the words, he wondered if he believed them. His wife would have agreed with Sam. She had always believed in finding another way. But his wife was dead now, killed by Valorians who didn't care about finding another way. The Retribution traveled through slip space for 3 weeks. The crew settled into a routine. Work, eat, sleep. Try not to think about what they were going to do when they arrived. Daniel spent hours analyzing Valorian communications they had intercepted. The enemy was panicked. The attack on Earth had shaken them. Their fleet had been destroyed by weapons they didn't understand. Now a human ship was following them home. One intercepted message caught Daniel's attention. It was from someone called Senate Prime Valorian. The message suggested that not all Valorians supported the attack on humanity. There was internal conflict in their government. Daniel brought this to Jack's attention. "Sir, it looks like Keltharis acted without full approval. The Valorian Senate is divided." Jack read the intercepts. "Does this change anything?" "It means we might be about to kill billions of Valorians who opposed attacking us in the first place." "Noted. But our orders remain the same. We deploy Hellfire unless we receive direct orders from Earth to abort." Daniel went back to his lab. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. But he also couldn't forget the images from New Haven. Children burning, cities turning to glass. 7 billion people dead because Keltharis wanted political power. The Retribution dropped out of slip space at the edge of the Kelthara system. Sensors immediately detected 6 planets, 3 of them inhabited. Total population, 40 billion. Jack looked at the main display. The system's star was a yellow dwarf, similar to Earth's sun. Peaceful, beautiful. In 30 minutes, it would be a supernova that would sterilize every planet in the system. The countdown timer showed 28 minutes. The Hellfire device drifted toward the star, invisible to Valorian sensors. On the bridge of the Retribution, nobody spoke. They all watched the numbers decrease. Amy worked frantically in engineering. The containment field on the device was degrading faster than expected. 3 weeks of travel had stressed the quantum generators beyond their design limits. "Sir, the field is at 60% stability," Amy reported. "If it drops below 40% before detonation, the antimatter will be released prematurely." "Can you compensate?" Jack asked. "I'm trying. But we're pushing technology we barely understand." Daniel stood next to Amy, monitoring the data. The field fluctuated wildly. Every few seconds it dipped, then recovered. They were running out of time in more ways than one. On the tactical station, Sam studied the Valorian defense network. The planet closest to them had major cities visible from orbit. He could see lights, millions of lights. Each one represented someone's home, someone's family. "Sir, I'm detecting children's frequencies on the communication bands. Schools are in session down there." Jack didn't respond. What could he say? Yes, they were about to kill children. The same way Valorian weapons had killed human children on Terra Nova. Ben stood behind Sam's station. He saw the lights, too. For the first time since his family died, he felt something other than rage. He felt doubt. "How many people on that planet?" Ben asked. 15 billion, Sam said quietly. 15 billion. Twice the number who died in the colony massacres. And that was just one planet. The other 2 inhabited worlds had 25 billion more. The countdown reached 25 minutes. Daniel made his discovery at 23 minutes. He had been analyzing more Valorian communications, trying to understand their language better. What he found changed everything. "Admiral, I need you to see this." Jack walked over to Daniel's station. The scientist pulled up a series of intercepted messages. "These are internal Valorian government communications. They've been arguing about the human attack for months. Keltharis had to convince his military commanders to support the operation. The Valorian Senate voted against it. He did it anyway. So Keltharis is a rogue element," Jack said. "More than that. According to these messages, the Valorian Senate has already arrested him. They're offering peace terms to humanity, full reparations, technology sharing. They'll execute everyone involved in the colony massacres." Jack read the messages carefully. They seemed genuine. The Valorians were divided. The attack on humanity had split their government. Many Valorians opposed what Keltharis had done. "When were these sent?" 5 hours ago. They haven't reached Earth yet. We're closer to Kelthara than Earth is. We got them first." 20 minutes on the countdown. Jack called his senior staff to the bridge. Ben, Daniel, Amy, Greg, and Sam gathered around the command chair. You've all seen the intercepts. The Valorian Senate is offering peace. What do we do? Greg spoke first. We abort. This is exactly what we wanted. Justice for the colony massacres and peace. Sam agreed. If we proceed with Hellfire, we're not defending humanity anymore. We're committing genocide against a species that wants peace. Amy was less sure. How do we know the offer is real? It could be a trick to stop us. It's not a trick, Daniel said. The internal messages weren't meant for us. These are real debates happening in their government. Some Valorians want peace, others want continued war. If we kill 40 billion of them, we'll unite their entire species against us. Ben listened to the debate. They were all talking about strategy and politics, but they weren't talking about the real question. What about justice? Ben asked. Everyone turned to look at him. 7 billion humans died. My wife, my children, Sam's parents. We came here to make the Valorians pay. Now you want to just accept an apology? It's not an apology, Sam said. They're offering to execute the people responsible. That's justice. No, that's politics. Justice is making them feel what we felt. Justice is making them understand that you don't attack humanity and walk away. 18 minutes. Jack held up his hand for silence. I need to contact Earth. General Sullivan needs to make this decision. The communication officer shook her head. Sir, we can't. We're using stealth systems. Any broadcast will reveal our position. The Valorian defense fleet will be on us in minutes. Then we decide now, Jack said. Vote. Abort or proceed. Greg voted abort. Sam voted abort. Amy voted abort. Daniel voted abort. Ben voted proceed, 4-1. But Jack was the captain. His vote decided everything. 15 minutes. Jack looked at the display screen. The star burned bright and steady. In 15 minutes, it would explode with the force of 1 billion nuclear weapons. Everything within 2 light years would be sterilized. He thought about his oath as an officer, protect humanity. That was the core of everything. But did protecting humanity require destroying 40 billion people who hadn't attacked them? Send a message to the Valorian Senate, Jack said. Inform them we're in their system. Tell them we have a weapon aimed at their star. Tell them they have 10 minutes to respond. The communication officer looked shocked. Sir, that will reveal our position. I know. Do it anyway. The message was sent. Immediately, alarms sounded across the retribution. Valorian defense platforms had detected them. Ships were moving to intercept. 6 Valorian cruisers incoming. Estimated time to weapons range, 8 minutes, Sam reported. So they had 8 minutes before the Valorians could kill them, and 10 minutes before Hellfire detonated. The math wasn't good. Daniel watched his screens. The containment field was at 55% and dropping. If the Valorians attacked the retribution, the shockwave might destabilize the field entirely. The antimatter would detonate prematurely, destroying both the human ship and the approaching Valorian vessels. 7 minutes until the Valorians arrived. 12 minutes until Hellfire. The response came at 6 minutes. It wasn't from the military, it was from Senate Prime Valorian herself. Her face appeared on the main screen. She looked old, tired. Her skin was a pale blue, and her eyes were larger than human eyes. But her expression was one Jack recognized: fear. Human vessel, this is Senate Prime Valorian. We acknowledge your weapon. We acknowledge your right to revenge, but I beg you to listen. Jack gestured for the communication officer to open a channel. This is Admiral Jack Morrison. You have 4 minutes to convince me why I shouldn't destroy your star. Because we are not all Keltharis. The attack on your colonies was an illegal military action. Keltharis has been arrested. His commanders are awaiting execution. We offer full restitution to humanity. Restitution won't bring back the dead. No, nothing will. Just as destroying us won't bring them back either. But it will make you murderers of innocents. the same as Keltharis. Ben spoke up from behind Jack. You killed innocents first. Valorian's eyes found Ben on the screen. I know. I watched the reports from your colonies. I saw what our military did. It was wrong. It was evil. Many Valorians opposed it. We tried to stop Keltharis. We failed. And now 40 billion of us will pay for that failure. 5 minutes until Hellfire. 3 minutes until the Valorian ships arrived. Sam looked at his display. Admiral, their ships have stopped. They're not attacking. It was true. The Valorian cruisers had halted just outside weapons range. They could destroy the Retribution easily, but they weren't firing. They're giving us a choice, Daniel said. They could kill us, but then Hellfire detonates anyway. They're showing they want peace. Jack looked at Ben. The commander's face was twisted with pain. Jack understood. Ben had come here to kill Valorians. Killing was the only thing keeping him together. If they didn't go through with it, Ben would have to face his grief without the comfort of revenge. Commander Carter, you lost more than any of us. This is your call. Do we abort or proceed? Ben stared at the countdown. 4 minutes. His hand moved toward the console. He could override the abort command. He could force the detonation. Jack wouldn't be able to stop him in time. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. Ben's hand stopped. He looked at the screen showing the Valorian planet. Those lights. Those 15 billion lives. His children had been lights like that once, seen from orbit. Someone else had made the decision to extinguish those lights. Abort, Ben said quietly. Abort the mission. Jack moved quickly. Dr. Hayes. Shut down Hellfire. Daniel and Amy worked together. They sent the abort codes to the device. The containment field stabilized. The countdown stopped at 2 minutes and 37 seconds. The Hellfire device shut down. The antimatter remained contained, no longer on a path to detonation. Sam found Ben in the observation deck. The commander stood at the window watching the Kelthera star. It still burned steady, alive, not destroyed. 40 billion people who didn't know how close they had come to death. We did the right thing, Sam said. Ben didn't turn around. Did we? 7 billion humans are still dead. Their families still grieve. We had the power to make the Valorians feel that same pain, and we chose not to. Because we're better than them. Are we? Or are we just weaker? Maybe Keltharis was right to see us as inferior. Maybe mercy is just another word for cowardice. Sam moved to stand beside Ben. My parents died on Genesis Prime. They were teachers. They spent their lives helping children learn. The day the Valorians attacked, my father sent me one last message. He said, "Remember who we are. Don't let hate turn you into something we wouldn't recognize." He sounds like a good man. He was, and he wouldn't want me to kill 40 billion people in his name. Neither would your wife. Ben's eyes filled with tears. It was the first time he had cried since Terra Nova. She hated violence. She always said there was another way to solve problems. I used to argue with her about it. I thought she was naive. Maybe she was right. Maybe. Or maybe the universe just got lucky today, because I wanted to push that button. I wanted to watch their star explode. I wanted them to feel what I felt. But you didn't. That took more strength than detonating the bomb would have. Ben wiped his eyes. I don't feel strong. I feel empty. That's grief. It takes time. How much time? Because right now it feels like forever. Sam didn't have an answer for that. He just stood with Ben watching the star that almost died. On the bridge, Jack received a transmission from Earth. General Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the screen. She looked relieved, but also disappointed. Admiral Morrison, we received your report. You aborted the mission. Yes, ma'am. The Valorian Senate offered peace terms. I judged them to be genuine. You exceeded your authority. Your orders were to deploy Hellfire. With respect, ma'am. Orders written 5 months ago don't account for the situation we found. Keltharis is arrested. The Valorian government wants peace. Destroying their home system would have made humanity the aggressors. Kate was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. You're right. I'm glad you made that call. President Monroe is already in contact with the Valorian Senate. They're negotiating terms. It looks like we're going to have peace. What about justice for the colonies? The Valorians are offering full reparations, money, resources, technology, and they're executing everyone who participated in the attack. Keltharis and 200 of his commanders will face Valorian justice within the month. That's not enough. I know. But it's what we're going to get. Sometimes justice is incomplete. We have to accept that and move forward. The transmission ended. Jack looked around the bridge at his crew. They had traveled across the galaxy to commit an act of ultimate destruction. Instead, they had chosen peace. He hoped history would remember them kindly. Daniel secured the Hellfire device in the cargo bay. The weapon would be disassembled once they returned to Earth. The technology would be preserved just in case. But for now, the galaxy was safe from humanity's most terrible weapon. Amy found him in the cargo bay. Do you regret building it? Every day, Daniel said. I created something that could have killed 40 billion people. That's not the kind of legacy anyone wants. But you also created the thing that brought peace. The Valorians know what we can do now. They'll never underestimate humanity again. Fear isn't the same as respect. No, but it's a start. The Retribution began its journey back to Earth. The trip took 3 weeks, the same as the trip out. But the mood was different now. Instead of grim determination, the crew felt uncertain. They had gone to war and come back with peace. Nobody was sure how to feel about that. 1 year later, Ben stood on New Terra Nova. The planet had been rebuilt with Valorian help. Where cities had been destroyed, new cities rose. Where forests had burned, new trees grew. The Valorians had honored their promise. A memorial stood at the center of the largest city. It was a wall made of black stone, stretching for miles. On it were inscribed 7 billion names, every person who died in the colony massacres. Ben walked along the wall until he found the section he needed. Claire Carter, his wife, age 34, teacher, Sophie Carter, his daughter, age 7, student, Nathan Carter, his son, age 5. Ben touched their names. The stone was cool under his fingers. He came here every week just to remember. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez found him there. Sam had transferred to the New Terra Nova Defense Force after the Retribution returned to Earth. He was helping train the new colonial fleet. The memorial looks good, Sam said. It does, but it doesn't bring them back. Nothing will. We just have to make sure it never happens again. Ben nodded. The Valorians have been true to their word. Food, medical supplies, technology. They're helping rebuild everything. Do you forgive them? Ben thought about that. No. I don't think I ever will, but I'm learning to live with it. That's the best I can do. On Earth, General Kate Sullivan stood before a joint human-Valorian assembly. The meeting was being broadcast across both species' territories. She introduced the Final Dawn Accords, a new framework for interspecies relations. These accords are built on a simple principle, Kate said. No civilization should face extinction for the crimes of its leaders. War Prime Keltharis committed atrocities against humanity. But the Valorian people are not Keltharis. They proved that by offering peace when they could have fought. We proved our character by accepting that peace when we could have chosen genocide. Senate Prime Valorian stood beside Kate. The Valorian Empire has learned a hard lesson. Power without wisdom leads to tragedy. We attacked humanity because we thought them inferior. We were wrong. Any species capable of building weapons like Final Dawn and then choosing not to use them deserves respect. In the audience, Daniel watched the ceremony. Next to him sat Amy and Greg. They had been awarded medals for their work on Final Dawn. Daniel kept his medal in a drawer at home. He didn't like looking at it. "Do you think it will last?" Amy asked. "The peace, I mean." "I don't know," Daniel said. "Humans and Valorians have long memories. 7 billion deaths aren't easy to forget. But we're trying. That has to count for something." President Lisa Monroe gave the closing speech. She looked older than she had a year ago. The weight of her decisions showed on her face. "Today marks a new beginning for both our species. We've seen the worst of each other." The Valorians saw humanity's capacity for devastating revenge. Humans saw the Valorian capacity for senseless violence. But we also saw something else. We saw that both species are capable of choosing a better path. She paused, looking out at the assembly. Half human, half Valorian. Former enemies learning to be neighbors. The colony massacres will never be forgotten. 7 billion lives lost is a scar that will never fully heal. But we honor their memory not through endless revenge, but by building a future where such tragedies can never happen again. That is the promise of the Final Dawn Accords. That is the legacy we choose. The Assembly voted. The Accords passed with overwhelming support. Humanity and the Valorian Empire were now bound by treaty and law. After the ceremony, Jack Morrison met with President Monroe privately. The Admiral had been promoted to Fleet Commander, in charge of all human military forces. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Lisa asked. "Letting them live?" "I think we made the only choice we could live with," Jack said. "If we had destroyed their star, we would have won the war. But we would have lost ourselves." People are still angry. Families of the dead want revenge. They always will. Grief doesn't follow a schedule. But most people understand why we chose peace. They might not like it, but they understand it. Lisa looked out the window at Earth. The planet had survived. Humanity had survived. But the cost had been terrible. "I authorized Final Dawn," she said quietly. "I gave the order to build weapons that could destroy entire star systems. I'll carry that choice for the rest of my life." "We all will," Jack said. "But you also gave the order to make peace. That counts too." In a secure facility in Nevada, the components of the Hellfire device sat in storage. The antimatter had been safely contained. The quantum generators were powered down. But the blueprints remained. The knowledge remained. Engineers could rebuild the weapon in months if needed. Humanity had proven they could create the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. That knowledge alone changed everything. Other species in the galaxy heard about Final Dawn. They learned that humans had reached the Valorian home system with a star-killer bomb. They learned that humans chose not to use it. Both facts were equally important. Some species saw humans as merciful. Others saw humans as dangerous but controllable. A few saw humans as unpredictable and chose to avoid contact entirely. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They might prefer peace, but they were capable of total war. And that made them the most dangerous kind of ally and the worst kind of enemy. Ben Carter eventually remarried. He met a woman named Julia, a botanist who had come to New Terra Nova to help restore the damaged ecosystems. They had a child together, a daughter they named Claire after Ben's first wife. On Claire's 7th birthday, Ben took her to the memorial. He showed her the names on the wall. He told her about the grandmother she never met, the aunt and uncle who died before she was born. "Why did the Valorians kill them?" Claire asked. "Because they made a mistake. They thought humans were weak. They learned they were wrong. Are we friends with them now? We're trying to be. It's hard, but it's important." "Why?" "Because staying enemies forever doesn't help anyone. Your grandmother would have wanted us to find peace." Claire looked at the names on the wall. 7 billion of them. More names than she could read in a lifetime. "I'll remember them," she said. "Good. That's all we can do." Remember them and make sure it never happens again. 10 years after the colony massacres, humanity had expanded again. New colonies were established. The population grew. Earth remained scarred by the memory of those dark days, but life continued. The EDF Retribution was decommissioned and placed in a museum. Visitors walked through the ship, seeing where Admiral Morrison made his choice. Where Commander Carter decided to abort the mission, where humanity chose mercy over revenge. But in the deep storage facilities, the final Dawn projects remained preserved. Chimera, Hellfire, Nightfall. The weapons humanity promised never to use again, but refused to forget how to build. Because the universe was a dangerous place, and humanity had learned the most important lesson of all. When survival is at stake, nothing is forbidden. But when survival is secure, everything is possible. They had been pushed to the edge of extinction. They had created weapons that could destroy stars, and then they had chosen not to use them. That choice defined humanity in the galactic community. Not their weapons, not their technology, but their decision, at the darkest moment, to be better than their enemies. The galaxy would never forget that humans could kill 40 billion in 30 minutes. But more importantly, the galaxy would remember that humans chose not to. And that made all the difference. On the view screen, Valorian's face showed relief so profound that she seemed to age backward. "Thank you," she said. "You have saved 40 billion lives today." "Don't thank us yet," Jack said. "We didn't do this out of mercy. We did it because we want something in return." "Name it." "You're going to help us rebuild our colonies. You're going to share your technology with us. And most importantly, you're going to remember that humans chose mercy when we could have chosen genocide. If you ever threaten us again, we won't hesitate to finish what we started today." Valorian nodded. "Agreed. All of it. I will ensure the Senate approves everything." The communication ended. Jack sat back in his chair, suddenly exhausted. They had come here to destroy an entire species. Instead, they had made peace. Ben walked off the bridge without a word. Sam followed him. "Helm, take us to the star. Use stealth mode. I don't want them to know we're here until the device is deployed." The Retribution moved slowly, using the advanced stealth technology adapted from the nanomachine research. Valorian sensors were designed to detect conventional threats. A single ship using experimental technology could slip through. They reached the optimal deployment position. Daniel and his team moved the Hellfire device to the launch bay. It was smaller than expected, just 5 meters across, but inside that shell was enough antimatter to tear apart a star. "Device ready for deployment," Daniel reported. Jack looked around the bridge. His crew was ready. They had come here to do a job. All that remained was giving the order. "Deploy Hellfire. Set countdown for 30 minutes. The device launched from the Retribution's bay, drifting toward the star. As soon as it was away, the countdown began. Now they just had to wait and see if humanity would become the greatest mass murderers in galactic history. Olar system. Sensors detected them immediately. The enemy was here. Kate stood in the command center, watching the displays. Around her, hundreds of officers prepared for the battle that would decide everything. "All teams, this is General Sullivan. Operation Final Dawn is now active. We get one chance at this. Make it count." Across the system, human ships powered up. Nanomachine payloads were armed. The Retribution began its engines, hidden behind Jupiter's mass. And deep underground, 12 billion people waited to see if humanity's darkest weapons would be enough to save them. Ben Carter sat in his cockpit, watching the Valorian fleet approach Earth. His hands were steady on the controls. He wasn't afraid. Fear required caring about survival, and Ben had stopped caring about that the day his family died. He checked his payload one last time. Billions of microscopic machines, each one programmed to destroy Valorian ships. Each one a tiny piece of revenge. "This is for Terra Nova," Ben whispered. Then he pushed his engines to full power and accelerated toward the enemy. "Jets that violate every treaty we signed. We shut them down because they were too dangerous, too immoral." But immoral weapons are still weapons, and right now, we need weapons more than we need our conscience. President Monroe looked around the room. She saw fear in every face, but she also saw understanding. They all knew what Kate was saying. To survive, humanity would have to become something they had promised themselves they would never be again. "Give me 24 hours, the president said. "I need to think about this." Kate saluted and left. As she walked through the halls of the government complex, she saw people going about their normal lives. They didn't know yet. The news of the colony deaths was being kept quiet to prevent panic. But panic was coming. And after panic would come something worse. Humanity was about to remember why they had banned those weapons in the first place. Because when humans stopped being civilized, they became the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Kate just hoped it would be enough.